Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, how dare you, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Also below this video you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. Now we are joined by Neil, 10th Man, father of a stolen child, Mind Warped, and a whole bunch of people in Discord. So welcome one and all.
Good morning.
Everyone.
Only reply from Discord. That's a first. Well, good to have you all. Hello, G+. 10th Man gone on strike.
Hello.
Because I told him he was wrong in the pre-show.
Hello, I'm here. I'm working, so it's hard for me to get to my mute button.
That's fair enough.
I'm here. I just got back. Good morning.
Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you may be. Do a bit of housekeeping. Everyone keen? Everyone
Yeah.
riled up? We need a warm-up act. Ah, here he is. Hey, Arwin. Perfect timing.
Hello.
Hello, good
Hello.
to have you.
Good afternoon.
Right, the enthusiasm level's very low, Arwin. I'm keen. Let's do a bit of housekeeping. You ready?
Yeah.
Let's do it. Any evidence of a physical, geometric, sphere-edge horizon, formerly known as Earth curvature?
It only exists in the math, and that's all they need. Math
on.
is all you need.
Spot on. We only have one horizon. The horizon in there begging the question, proof of nothing, perspective hijacking Earth curve calculator is a physical Earth curve edge tangent point with a straight line drawn to it, and the response to the black swan is the horizon is refracted, debunking the Earth curve geometry. The horizon is not Earth curve. Any evidence?
Ballers don't like straight lines anymore.
They don't need the geometrical horizon to be in the place you see it in order to establish R, because they could simply calculate R based on going around the world and adding that all up.
I see. So they don't need to see it. They can just derive it from an assumption and a rubber ruler of the horizon, and then assert that the horizon's subsequently physical and getting in the way of stuff. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, terrestrial refraction simply makes it impossible to establish geometry through sight. So, yeah, just calculate it. There's no other way.
So you
That's
calculate.
not true.
You think the
That's not entirely true.
Go on then. Why not?
No, see, they have to have an R to begin with. They presumed an R. Now you got to prove your presupposition. And the black swan destroys their presupposition because they can't prove it. So they got to get rid of all straight lines because the tangent works against them rather than for them. So they're going to have to throw all geometry away to keep their presupposition.
No.
What?
No, they don't. They just gotta leave all the tie-ins to visual reality out of it, because terrestrial refraction makes applying geometry impossible.
Yeah, but their assertion is a geometric assertion that we have an Earth curve edge obstruction based on the physical geometry of an Earth that would obscure things. So now you're saying their claim after the Black Swan is, well, we can't use straight lines and we can't assert geometry at a visual level. And that's what they're doing, right? They're saying there's a second horizon that doesn't exist, that you can't see, that forms the rubber ruler horizon to be not in a position that it's going to be blocking things because it's refracted. But we're going to, as you say, calculate where it would be. And once we calculate where it'll be, we'll assert it gets in the way of things with its physicality.
Yes.
Yeah, but
After
calculating
being
and
subjected by
measurements,
terrestrial refraction, yes.
but calculating and measuring are not the
That's
same thing.
That's
No.
exactly what a kid told me last night. He was like, well, we would have to do it some non-optical way, like measuring the Earth. I'm like, yeah, when has that been done?
Exactly. It's not our problem to prove the claim. It's their problem. It's like, you've got a geometric horizon to prove, not us. I mean, that's already started. They're trying to push that burden onto us. Yeah, like we're claiming a physical Earth curve edge that should be blocking things. And when it doesn't,
Well,
you're going to tell us that our Earth curve edge is debunked, maybe it's ruined?
there's
Hey,
two.
listen, we don't need reference frames and we don't need geometric horizons.
Your geometric
According-
horizon's ruined.
According to them, Al-Biruni and Eratosthenes had to see it to measure it.
Right. Do they make tape measures with braille on them?
I don't know if I got one now. Sorry, Tent, I didn't mean to cut you off.
It's okay. I'm used to it.
No one
Yeah, I'm
claims
gonna
the
cut you off
horizon is
every
Earth
time.
curve.
Right on, George. Nobody claims the horizon is Earth curve. Not anymore. Not since we debunked it.
Well, they can't say there was another way of ascertaining it because the two people they give credit to use their eyeballs.
Let's move on.
Well,
Okay.
no,
go
they
on.
might
But how much
basically
of the
just...
mountain can you see?
What?
Oh, what? Go on, George.
How much of the mountain can you see? We need to quantify this.
How much over the mountain can you see? Well, if you're lower than it, nothing. It's in the way, right?
Yeah, that's their argument. When you say that you see, let's say, a mountain 50 miles away, they ask you, how tall is the mountain? Why you need to quantify? You can see it. It's there.
Yeah, that's what we were discussing in the pre-show. The assertion from a flat earther that when you see something in the distance, that if the sphere edge paradigm claims that there's going to be an Earth curve edge horizon in the way, then seeing it means you're seeing it at too far, quote, a distance, which immediately begs the question that there should be something in the way. Well, no, you're just seeing it, and you're saying, well, you look at a mountain, why are you suddenly going to beg the question that there's a curved surface beneath your feet, curving away from you, potentially then having that curve corrected by the curve of the atmosphere and the light that bends around it to make it not look curved? It's like, it's all just a get out for the fact that it doesn't look curved and isn't obscuring things. That's all we hear. Explanations around problems that the globe Earth has because it's not a globe.
I don't want
Absolutely.
flat earthers to feel like they're obligated to like do battle against this refraction business. And I know that, like, you know, maybe calling it a hologram is not like what someone else wants to end the conversation with, but I promise you, all you have to do is to ask them define it. That's all you have to do. Because when they say refraction, it's like, okay, give me the definition that applies to what you're saying is happening with the black swan. Like, give me something that's already defined and an example of it. And that'll expose that
You're
they're
assuming they
just
want to
repeating the word
understand it.
because they saw a debunked video on YouTube.
No, you both, Arwin and Eli, you're both kind of only half right, because what you're describing is an opportunity you're offering them as a flat earther to beg the question, because you're saying, how does this actually work? Hold on, I'll just let Adam in. Hey, Adam.
Afternoon, everyone.
Lulu.
Right, what were we talking about, Eli? What was your point again? I just want to round that out before Arwin jumps in. Eli, you there?
Yeah, sorry, I had some noise. But I was saying, when globe earthers bring up refraction, you can just ask them to define it and
Perfect.
give an example with the
Sorry, yes, I'd forgotten what I was going to say, if I'm honest. It's opening the door for a bait and switch. So what you're saying to them is, describe in reality the refractive effect that matches what you're claiming is occurring with the physical sphere edge horizon when it moves to a non-geometric refracted location. How is that described in refractive terms? Now, there's a good chance that at that point, if they're a decent or reasonably educated fundy or a zealot, they'll come along and actually detail atmospheric effects like looming. Now, they may not get them right, but it doesn't matter. They'll describe something that occurs in reality. Does light deviate from straight, i.e. refract? Yes, it does. Will they be able to describe something that occurs in reality and give that a title that's accurate? Yes, they will. But their refraction on the globe isn't any of those descriptions that they will give you, because what they're applying is called terrestrial refraction, and it's a rate of the R value, 7/6 in standard form. 7/6 of the radius value is a mathematical term that can only be applied after the fact, when you've got your assumptions that Earth's a sphere, you've got your assumptions that you're seeing too far when you just look at a clock, and then you start applying how much correction the light bending is giving you based on the radius value. That's their refraction. And at some point, they'll switch from their description, accurate or otherwise, of an effect in nature to their terrestrial R-based refraction. So they just have to weasel it in. It's a bait and switch.
Maybe
Well,
we
right.
should rename it to
But that's
radial
why
refraction.
I didn't say, like, the guy says define refraction, and I'm like, okay, well, I know what refraction is, but you're trying to apply it to this situation. So is there a definition from a source not from you that I can look at? Like, oftentimes not often, there's nothing like that exists. You're right. They would have to go to terrestrial refraction, but they can't, because that's begging the question too.
And we've debunked R. So at the point that they're moving the horizon and saying it's moved with refraction, in this case terrestrial refraction based on R, they need a tangent point horizon to get R. So they can't move it with an R value that they can no longer measure, because their horizon is supposed to be a derivation of the R value. It's supposed to be a physical obstruction blocking boats and buildings. It's Earth curve. That's what their horizon is. So they're justifying why their horizon isn't what it's supposed to be. And how they're justifying it is when the horizon is what it's supposed to be, a physical tangent point blocking boats and buildings, we get an R from it. And with that R that has come from a physical horizon we call Earth curve, I'm going to move that physical Earth curve horizon to a different position. That's what they're doing. It's paradoxically nonsensical.
Yeah, they're getting rid of the measurement, but trying to keep the calculation. It
Yep.
doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Oh, we can't get any R anymore. The horizon's not Earth curve. It's not based on R. It's not a sphere edge getting in your way. But the basis that it is a sphere edge getting in your way that we can get R from, we're going to use that measurement to move it. But no, you can't. That's a paradox.
Nobody claims the horizon is the curve of the Earth.
Tim Osman. Anyone got the show number for that?
No, I don't. I didn't memorize it yet.
I'll go look for it.
I thought you might have it in your notes, 10th. Thank you very much. Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety? Quote, Simon Dan, you and your reference frames have been ruined. End quote. Thanks, Dan.
Because we only got one reference frame that we observed, so there's another reference frame we don't observe.
And no drift, no 15 degrees an hour, no Coriolis effect, no balls drifting through goals because Earth's turned beneath them, no snipers leading targets because they've had to have a correction for Earth turning beneath the bullet. All those claims, total nonsense in the first place, because if those claims were true, Earth would also turn underneath aeroplanes. for you to have the same visual effect from the ground of them drifting. That's what's claimed to occur. 15 degrees an hour drift. That would be Earth turning underneath things to cause them to drift from your vantage point. Well, that doesn't happen. It would shorten flight times if it did. And it would also mean you could launch a drone on the equator and it would whiz away 1,000 miles an hour as it tracks with the stars that are also claimed to have the same effect. So the stars would be stationary by way of the drone filming them, not from the ground that's turning beneath them. Of course, that would mean it would whiz away from you 1,000 miles an hour on the equator, and of course that does not happen. Nothing's drifting.
I guess that's what this claim and space have in common. They got two places that don't exist in their supposed proofs.
Same with Earth curve. Space doesn't exist, claimed to be a place you can get Earth curve proof from. Horizon doesn't exist as a physical Earth curve obstruction. But yet they claim they can use it to move the horizon to the non-physical position to get around a little problem of it not being in a geometric location anymore. Not being the curve of the Earth, not blocking things as it would if it was a physical Earth curve edge, as they claim in their calculator. Earth curve is so dead. Earth as a sphere is so dead. Space is so dead. The idea that we spin is so dead. Speaking of space, any evidence that you can have gas pressure, the stuff we're all breathing, without a container for it to press upon?
Without the balloon, there can be no pressure.
Without
You
the
mean
container. Go on.
the springs on gases pulling them down?
No.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I've been saying to Anthony. So Anthony's quite keen at the moment because he's got a new playmate in the form of Blue Marble Science. I'm sure he's been talking to you about this too, Adam, right?
They just texted me now, yeah.
You mean hillbilly blue balls?
He phoned me up last night and I had wires everywhere, right? I'm a bit... I won't go into the boring details. I would if it was a pre-show. Anyway, I had wires everywhere and I'm like... Oh. He phones me up and he's like, why don't you just go live immediately? Like, you're having a laugh, right? There's kids and... I don't want to describe the disgusting things that were going on at the time, but it wasn't pleasant. Anyway, I'm like, no, I can't go live. What's the big deal? And he explains to me that Blue Marble Science has knocked his Cavendish experiment while specifically verbally detailing how important it is not to do that. And he's like, can I call this deception? Can I say he's trying to deceive people? I'm like, why do you even need to ask? So we have this conversation, and at the end of it, I said, do you realise this is all pointless? You know, I explained on yesterday's live show to Anthony, you know, when you get to the conclusions being drawn about the Cavendish, regardless of the arguments that occur about the apparatus itself, we have these problems about the assertion in the first instance, which is 106 years out of date now, which is to say that if you take gas, right, does gas attract its mass according to their definitions? It's a mass. It has mass. Therefore, it should attract mass. If mass, then mass attracts mass. That's their hypothesis for Cavendish, as ludicrous as that sounds. Nevertheless, that's their claim. Well, if mass, then mass attracts mass would mean that gas attracts gas, or is attracted to the mass of Earth. And it does completely the opposite. It has elastic collisions. So if it happens to encounter another gas particle, will it stick on it? Stay with it? No, it'll bounce off it. Elastic collisions. So gases absolutely fly in the face, no pun intended, of this assertion that mass attracts mass. It doesn't. And my point being that the Cavendish nonsense is all for nothing. It's a parlour trick. Not only is it a parlour trick, it's 106 years out of date, superseded by Einsteinian pseudo-Ramonian force space. So it's a waste of time. But, you know, more power to Anthony. He's stringing them along. Again, no pun intended.
I can see the personal pleasure in it. You're right. In terms of proving anything, all it does is give you the personal satisfaction of showing the ballers that, no, that thing you cling on to is just absolutely devoid of any validity with where you're trying to apply it. And in fact, as you can see, two independent parties are still trying to figure out what people are interpreting those results as, mass attracting mass, actually is. It's quite apparent that previous detections are clearly operational error, as demonstrated by, or intentional operational error, as shown the other day.
Right, that's Anthony's beef. I get it. But by the same token, 4 years ago, we were being instructed to go and measure things at beaches and cliffs and all the rest of that jazz, while they were chuckling away because they knew we were into their paradigm, begging the question along with them, and they're giving us all the orders and we're jumping to it. Well, now the tables have completely turned. Anthony knows Cavendish inside out, back to front. I know it and he knows it, right? He knows exactly how it fails. When I give him the reasons and whys and wherefores of why this will be debunked and demolished at the end of all the conclusory statements that may or may not be made based on the apparatus actually performing the way it's supposed to, or not, as the case may be, or it getting a nudge, as the case may be, it's just going to be the case that we say, no, what about gas? That's got mass. It's not attracting. End of claim. You're not proving anything. It's nonsense. Also,
Or
Einstein...
just ask for the hypothesis. That then destroys it to move forward from.
Exactly. It's getting shafted from one angle or another. But the point is, though, that Anthony's now calling the shots. Nah, I think you need to do it a bit more like this. Nah, I don't know if I like the way you've done that. The tables have completely turned. We are now in control. Not the other way around. We're barking orders at you to do your bloody parlour tricks and do them better. And what's going to happen at the end? Are you going to prove it when you get this apparatus to do what you hope it'll do? Because we'll just point out that gas disproves it. And that'll be the end of it. And we'll have a damn good laugh at you after us poking you to get it done differently or in line with Cavendish's instructions or CV Boys' claims. Yeah, we're in control now. Make no mistake of what's happening. The tables have completely turned.
Well, they still got control over their own minds, though. Did you hear about Mick West claiming that we're all holograms?
I don't want to hear the fantasy ramblings of a complete nutter.
Well, maybe he just broke. Maybe we just broke him. Once he realized by us pointing out, like, yeah, that means terrestrial refraction, nothing is where it is, it's all a hologram. So now maybe he's starting to compartmentalize things and just say, okay, everything I see, I am, everything around here is all a hologram. But all those things up there, that's physical reality, though.
Right, let me know when he gets to
like
him being a brain in a jar and I'll have a good damn laugh at him.
Yeah,
This
like
is actually
Rumpus.
the
He must
outcome
be
of
the Matrix
of
then.
their worldview, though. If you stop and think about it for a second, they claim that the physical world cannot be proven ultimately, if you think about it, which means science doesn't prove things. So ultimately, nothing in the physical world can be proven. But you can prove things in the conceptual world, like mathematics. So think about it.
Yeah, it's
That's
complete
the
arse about
consequence
face.
of the worldview.
Yeah, it's completely arse about face because mathematics may be able to describe things. Doesn't necessarily mean those things being described even exist. So maths is not reality. Physics, on the other hand, as the name implies, is dealing with the physical. So, no, completely the wrong way round, Paul. But that is what they claim. Nothing's empirical. You can't prove anything. Science doesn't prove anything, even though it's an empirical method designed solely to prove things. Nevertheless, that's what they claim, only to then go on and reify mathematics from the abstract descriptions of things that you can't experience into their actual worldview. It's pretty sad, but that is accurate, Paul. That is exactly what they do.
So can I tell my kids today when they say...
Go on, Paul.
Oh, yeah, because they're remember, if you're a brain in a vat and we live in a virtual world, the only thing that's real is your mind.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. When Mick West gets there, let me know so I can have a good laugh at him. Speaking of
He's
Cavendish,
already there. This is just a holographic projection, temporary.
Well, there could be a basis of truth in that in terms of probability distributions prior to a knower experiencing them. So from a certain angle, you can argue that there is I don't want to use the holographic word, but things that exist could, prior to them being experienced, only exist as a probability distribution. Now, this is a scientifically proven fact. In terms of the double slit experiment, that's what it describes and how it describes it. How do you affect light existing only as a probability? could be here, but then it could be there. It might go here, it might go there. It could be here, and it's just a probability of where it will be, a likelihood, as opposed to a certitude. Well, upon knowing which path that light's travelling along, you affect the outcome and actualize the destination of the light. Well, that's you as a knower affecting something that didn't technically exist as a certainty until you got involved. Well, that can be extrapolated out into a semi-description of a Matrix-style world, if you like. Now, that's an extrapolation I'm not making here, but I'm saying that you can draw that comparison when you use scientific validity to things like the double slit or delayed choice quantum eraser. Those experiments can make those extrapolations more feasible. Make sense? Yes, Nathan, very well put. Thank you. I tried to be concise. Any scientific
I
evidence
agree.
of gravity?
Yes.
That's interesting.
No. No scientific evidence for gravity. In fact, gravity is just an ad hoc explanation for the Earth and their creation story.
Yeah, it's a incoherent argument, definitely.
Don't start. Don't do it.
Ha ha ha.
Yeah, let's not get polarized by any static forces or anything.
God, it's your fault, George. I'm blaming you. Any
It's okay.
any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
Wait a second, are they talking about dielectric acceleration again?
No,
No,
Neil.
nobody's talking about it.
No.
Oh, okay.
I was well, every
But
single version.
apparently, the
of
cell
it.
phone is proof of astrophysics and science and the general theory of relativity.
Is that
Don't
so?
forget laptops.
Okay,
No,
go ahead.
cell phones, man.
Go ahead, Eli. What were you going to say, Eli? Or maybe not.
Cell phones would be technology. Am I right?
Yes, that's correct, Neil.
Thank you.
They often get bracketed together, science and technology. Well, no.
What about the hole on the donut or the shoe? Does it count?
It's
No,
not a
man.
natural
I mean,
phenomenon.
Neil deGrasse Tyson, man. He said, you know, all the science and technology should be, and things based on space physics should be taken away from flat earthers, so that, you know, we wake up like cavemen.
No, listen, they all
You
go
guys hear
together.
this?
They
No.
go together
Hold on,
when they're
Neil.
trying
Hold
to
on.
hijack science.
Hold on, Neil. Say that again, Chocolate.
Yeah, basically he was saying how, you know, this flat earth thing, and there's people that, you know, there's things like a cell phone that have science and space physics and astrophysics and Einstein's relativity in this, talking about his phone, right? So all these things are in a phone, but yet we have the nerve to be science deniers. He even said that, called the science deniers. So these things that are based on science and astrophysics and space physics, that's what he said, space physics, whatever that is. These things should be taken away from flat earthers so that we wake up like cavemen.
I'd like that clarified. That's what, if he said space physics, right, astrophysics. Yeah, okay. Show me something that's been established in the physical.
And Einstein's relativity is in your phone too. Yep.
It's nonsense. This is technology, as Neil correctly identified. This isn't science. So when we talk about science here, we're talking about natural science, the study of the physical and natural world. That's what science is. That's physics, not technology.
When did he say this, Chocolate? Is it recent?
The other night on James Corden's show.
All right, well,
Yep.
nice. Now let's get this guy in the arena, okay? He's always saying, no, he'll never come. He's calling us out. Now get his ass in here.
Yeah, I put it in Ball Busters. Nathan, you should have seen that. As soon as I put it in Ball Busters, your little icon showed up right underneath it.
Yeah, I've been there to
Yeah,
share
I just
one of my
watched it
shows.
last night, Joe. It's crazy.
I sat down, I was working after a long day getting some stuff squared away. I sit down, turn the TV on, it pops on, and within 3 seconds, Neil deGrasse Tyson's in my face talking about flat Earth. I shit you not.
What?
Yep.
Yep. It's in
It's
Ball
space
Busters.
physics.
Where?
I mean,
Well, this
John,
is
you
great
didn't
news.
know you had Einstein's relativity in your phone?
All you could hear
Jesus.
in my house was you.
It was hard for me to finish the whole video, man, but I was just like, let me just listen to the nonsense this guy is saying. But once he said space physics, like, I turned it off. I was just like, okay, I'm done. I can't anymore.
He's been at it for best part of 5 years now, ragging on flat earthers.
Yeah, because apparently he was disappointed in in the failure of people's belief in science, right? With the whole this pandemic thing, and he's been hiding out. So he's just disappointed, like a father is disappointed in his son. He's disappointed in the world of science. it's so cringe, man. That guy, it's unbelievable.
The sentiment I totally agree with.
You would.
No, I mean, I'm disappointed in what, up until a few years ago, was claimed and purveyed as being science. Now, his sentiment is, I'm very disappointed in people's lack of belief in science. Well, I'm very disappointed in people's lack of belief in science also, because they come here and tell us that science doesn't prove things when it's an empirical method of establishing cause of natural phenomena. That's what science is, that's physics. Now he's saying, I'm disappointed because people have got a phone in their back pocket and therefore don't believe the Earth's a sphere. That's your claim? That's crap. He doesn't understand what science is.
In the meantime, he still has to justify the claim that a ball deviates because of Coriolis effect. It's probably his most embarrassing claim ever.
It's embarrassing.
He doubled down on that, so I don't know why that's embarrassing.
I was going to say that's the rhetoric. That's not embarrassing. That's him as a heliocentric priest purveying the rhetoric as it should be purveyed.
The rhetoric is stupid.
Yeah, it's stupid, but that's what they claim. They claim Earth turns underneath footballs and bullets, and that's what Coriolis is. He's just detailing what he says is an effect of Coriolis on a claim to be turning Earth as it should be claimed. Now, he's not got anybody stood next to him going, hang on a second, if Earth turns underneath that football for it to look like it curved through the goal, then the blimp filming the game has also got Earth turning underneath it. And that doesn't happen. It would also mean flights to be shortened when travelling west for us to see him seem to curve from the ground. Because that's what Coriolis is, right? Us seeing it seem to curve. Well, if we're seeing planes seem to curve, they're going to have flight times reduced. Is anyone standing next to him saying that? No, he's got some blonde bimbo going, oh, really, Mr. Tyson? That's so cool.
Yeah, it's a little sad how much they worship the guy. It's like, you're not saying anything. You're just making shit up, literally. People worship the words you say. It's disgusting.
Come on, man. He's the heliocentric Darth Vader. Come on.
It's the equivalent of us saying, without any argument attached, it's flat because cameras. It's so disappointing that people wake up day after day and they've got cameras and they don't realise the Earth's flat. And you're like, that is pretty weak. No, but cameras, technology, optics, and I give a really vague description of how a camera proves it's flat. Now, even that's a higher standard than what Neil deGrasse Tyson's done.
I mean,
Essentially, a good
any
part of
weaker
that.
of an argument than, oh yeah, I mean, you should just send an asteroid at a magical speed and whatever angle that you send it at, it'll create a completely perfect circle. I mean, just send it at a magic speed. I mean, this is the level of argument that we're talking about right now. It's insanity.
Essentially a healthy chunk of that late night show with James. What's his name?
James Corden.
James Corden, yeah. A healthy chunk of that was science deniers.
Yep.
So if you get
I had
a
a
chance to
good
check it
chuckle.
out, go ahead.
I will.
I had a good chuckle of that because I'm like, yeah, really. Coming from the same side that tells us science doesn't prove things anymore.
Yeah.
I was like, that's why you're all under the bus right now, Mr. DeGrasse, Smoking DeGrasse Tyson. That's why your own side throws you under the bus because you say things like that. It's ridiculous.
Proclaiming science deniers, and he's the chief pseudoscience or
That's what he's there for.
pseudoscientist. That's the irony.
But it's not ironic, that's his job. So he's there as the high priest of pretend science, pseudoscience. So obviously he's got to say, I'm very disappointed. Let's translate what he's saying. I'm so disappointed that people don't accept our pseudoscience, because our pseudoscience says we're on a ball. So I think we should take away all of the technology from flat earthers, because I claim technology is the same as my pseudoscience. So you technology-deprived flat earthers are like cavemen. That's what he's loosely saying. It's absolute garbage. It's so weak. I'll have to watch it before I pass judgment, because typically Neil deGrasse Tyson's a pretty adept magician. For example, when he's holding up the beach ball and saying you can't see the curve of the Earth from 1 inch above this beach ball, yeah, he's got everyone reifying the horizon into a physical sphere edge. Very clever. He's even laughing in our faces when he says that stuff is flat and he smacks a beach ball that's obviously round. Yeah? Well, his magic trick is to get you to reify the horizon into an edge that may or may not be bending. It's definitely a sphere edge, though. And as an example, you can't see the curve of the Earth from 140,000 feet. All right, but the curve of the Earth in your example is going to be an Earth curve edge obstruction based on the reification of your sphere ball in your hand. But so long as everybody's assuming the horizon's physical, it doesn't matter if we say, look, he's saying it's flat. No, he's saying it's a sphere edge without saying it. That's clever. In this instance, it sounds like he's saying if you've got a phone, you've got proof of the sphere in your back pocket. That's so weak. Not characteristic of deGrasse Tyson. I'm not trying to give him compliments, but I kind of am at the same time.
Yeah, well, he knows his target audience. We just went over this.
7 to 15-year-olds.
Right? And say again?
7 to 15-year-olds.
No, not just those. He's got. We'll go over it again tomorrow on Ballbusters. It's called The Game. Yeah, stay tuned.
Oh, cool. Sounds ace. It is just a game. There's no proof for a sphere. There's just tactics and debate ploys and games. That's what they've got now. No proof of a sphere. Just assumptions in mathematics and decrying actual science that does literally prove things. It's its only purpose. Well, they'll decry that while telling you that the mathematics they abstract into reality, that's where you actually live. While they fundy mute anything that disputes it and employ a whole other of other debate tactics. Decrying their own side as another weird tactic they have to employ, especially when it comes to Tyson. He didn't mean that. What, when he said that Earth turned underneath the football, he didn't mean it. That's exactly what he meant. It just doesn't happen because shortened flight times. Hello? No, he didn't mean it. Anyway.
I'll go ahead and repost it. I didn't identify who was in the video. That's on me.
While you're doing that, any evidence of the distance to the sun, as we're talking about the claims from astrophysicists?
Nope. Somebody
So,
asked.
so not my phone then? No.
You can present it if you want.
And then there was that lady, Sabine, who said, people are walking around with glasses on, So if you've got glasses and a phone, you got all types of glow proof, man. You in the game.
Would you not be heartbroken? I mean, we get praised as being the tip of the spear in terms of the debates when it comes to this subject. Well, you'd come away from here, hopefully, best case scenario, like John. And you're telling people how, yeah, I realised that my reification of a sphere belief hung on the idea that the horizon physically blocked things. When that was debunked, that's the end of it. Well, you'd hope that those would be the results of going to your high priest. I'm not saying I'm a high priest, by the way. That's not what I'm trying to say here. I'm saying that, by comparison, if you went to what you would consider to be the tip of the spear when it comes to proving the Earth's a sphere, someone like deGrasse Tyson, right, held up in high regard, And what you get from him is, you're like, I've just been on Flat Earth Debate and been annihilated. I know what I'll do. I'll go to the top of the top. I'll go to the High Priest. Hello, High Priest. I need the best sphere proof I can present when I next go into Flat Earth Debate. What you got? Well, you got a mobile. yeah, I've got a mobile, yeah. Well, that's it. That's all you need.
Well, Bob's your uncle.
Bob's your uncle. You got glasses? Yeah. Well, you go. Go back in. Tell them it's a sphere. You got a phone. Tell them how disappointed you are that they decry science. Off you go. I'd be disappointed if that's what I got for my High Priest.
Extremely. Magic speed and shit. Oh, man.
Well, not only do they show the disappointment, they throw him under the bus. That's not what really meant. What you mean, because we can debunk it really easily when we pay attention to your claim and then point out it doesn't happen as claimed by Tyson. Suddenly, that's not what he meant.
Yeah. The same thing with Michio Kaku when I say that quote. Oh no, that's not what he was talking about. Oh, he did say that cosmology is off by a factor of the 10 to the 120th power. He didn't mean that when he said that. Even after he describes, oh, that's a one with 120 zeros after it. He didn't mean that though. and then goes on to say this is the greatest mismatch between theory and experiment. He didn't mean that though. What he really meant was blah 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 blah. Oh, all right. Seems legit.
What he really meant was Earth is a sphere and there isn't anything we don't know about it. It's all been figured out. Go in peace. That's what he actually meant.
Indeed.
Well, that's the higher science that I've been talking about. Come on, you gotta evolve from the QE way. There's a higher science out there, and it gives you cell phones and eyeglasses.
Right.
Nathan, I got the show.
Troubleshooting. Development of technology. That's not science.
Nathan.
Yes.
I got the show for Tim Osmond.
Oh, brilliant. What number was it?
It's 1304, and you could probably start it at the 123.22 mark. Just past the 124 mark.
Make a note of it myself. 1304.
Correct. 120. I mean, if you want to encapsulate what you wanted here, it starts at the 123.22 mark and goes just past the 124 mark.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. Nobody claims the horizon is Earth curve, if anybody's wondering why we're doing this admin during a live show. I was just intrigued to know which show it was that Tim Osman, like, I'm going to get this wrong now, I was going to say like Judas. Three times.
Denied the globe 3 times.
That's Peter. That's Peter, by the way, not Judas.
Yeah, I did it last time as well. It's Peter. I know. I did know this time. I just wanted to get the same correction, not pretending that I didn't get it wrong last time by saying Peter.
But the Judas one works because he hung himself.
Lovely. Just for fun, as we haven't asked it, any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
Oh.
No, everything about their whole heliocentric globe Earth is made up. So these housekeeping questions must be bothering him so much. That's why they come here all triggered all the time.
Last but by no means least, any evidence of the R value, Earth radius?
That's the start of the problem for them.
That's where it starts, and that's where it ends.
Yeah. Let me hear it. Chocolate.
Oh, did you hear the new one? You're gonna hear it next week on the Numpty clips. Back to what Chocolate was saying about them denying clear, plain language that their numpty priests give them. And next week, you're going to hear that the geometric horizon, that they had a typo, made a mistake. They just typed the definition in wrong.
No way.
Yes,
Please
sir. Just wait, it's coming.
Can I just clarify what you're talking about? Are you presumably taking them to a definition that points out that their horizon, the horizon they claim blocks and boats and buildings, is the geometric horizon. That's their horizon. And they go, no, it's just described wrong.
Yeah, it's defined wrong. It's a typo, or they just made an editing error, or it was a mistake. I'm telling you, dude. Look at
Earth curve's been defined wrong. Okie dokie.
You're all right. Yep.
and the new one. We haven't talked about this one too much. You see, their vocabulary. They should do a show, and thank us for giving at least some vocabulary, even if they don't know what the words mean. At least they have some vocabulary. Now they've taken the necessary antecedent consequent game and applied it to their geometric and apparent horizon. So the geometric horizon is the necessary antecedent to the apparent horizon.
I don't know what an antecedent is.
Wow. It's funny. They used to tell us that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah,
now, all of a sudden, it's all the rage.
I guarantee that's unorthodox doing that.
How could something that's never been seen or measured be the antecedent for anything?
Precisely. If it's the antecedent, it must
can't.
be real and must exist for the other thing to depend on it. Well, it doesn't exist. It only exists in the maths. Therefore, the horizon we experience is absolutely in no way, shape, or form dependent on some marked with an X labelled horizon point in a piece of mathematics that they assert is their world. It has no bearing on it. Something that exists doesn't have any bearing on something that does. Likewise, the anatomy of unicorns has no bearing on the anatomy of horses.
Well, they are in a world where a thought experiment is valid enough for them to have it exist. It's just a thought experiment. It's not real.
We're walking
No,
around.
no,
with
you're
thought
not.
experiments in
I
our
don't
phone,
think.
man.
I don't. It's not. You're not seeming to get this. They're saying that the geometric horizon does exist. We don't see it, but it projects another apparent horizon in arbitrary places.
Yeah, I know. I realise what they're saying. Yeah, they're saying it's a slightly looming non-standard refraction holographic horizon projected from the geometric antecedent horizon. I do understand what you're saying. I've heard it enough times.
Well,
it's the bat signal.
Yeah, it's the bat signal horizon.
They're saying the geometric horizon isn't something you can actually observe. It's just sort of a thought experiment. What you would see if the atmosphere did not exist. That's what they're saying.
That's literally what they're saying. When they're saying it's projecting, they're saying it's a bat signal horizon, man. Like, what?
That's what we get. That's a great name for it.
Look, what we're describing is according to them, horizon that is projecting into a non-geometric location. Now, their assertion that is claimed to prove Earth is a sphere is that we have a geometric location that obscures things. That's the claim. So they're basically decrying their own claim. That's where you end up with Tim Osman saying nobody claims the horizon is Earth curve, only for us to laugh and go, that is your claim. That is precisely what you claim. But when we point out that it isn't, you have to tell us, no, don't be silly. I'm not claiming the horizon's Earth curve. Yeah, that is what you're claiming. We've just debunked it. Now, when you project it into a different position and say it's a antecedent consequent relationship, well, then you'd need to have the geometric horizon in the first place. Now, for it to be geometric, it can't be refracted. Paradoxically, you can't refract it with R. So their refraction back to the bait and switch. Yeah, we're talking about how things will occur in the natural world with or without atmosphere. No. We're not talking about what occurs if sky vacuum actually worked and it took away all the gas we're breathing because it was a space for it to occupy. No, we're not talking about that. We're talking about what geometry actually requires, and it requires the horizon to be a tangent. Without that point, which is debunked when they say it's refracted, it is the end of geometry. It's not, oh, well, we do have a tangent point horizon. No, you don't. If you can't see it, it's not a horizon. So it's not a projection of that which you can't see. It can't be seen. It's not assumed to be there as an antecedent when you can't see it, because you'd need to see it for it to be a tangent. If you can't, it's not. Bye-bye globe geometry. Bye-bye the assertion the horizon's Earth curve. It isn't, and you're telling us it isn't. To the point where you tell us nobody's claiming it either. Yeah, your argument starts with the horizon.
Nathan, that statement, nobody's claiming it, it has to be addressed correctly. When they gave a number to it, 3959 radius, they are compelled,
Sounds like a claim.
demanded by geometry that horizon at a 1 foot observer height has to be no further than 1.22 miles. So they're constrained by their own radius number of 3959. When that doesn't vet out in reality, that's when they go crazy. But it's the end of them because they have to stick to it.
Go crazy or realise the Earth's not a sphere. So John is our example of that. If he were here, I'm sure he'd regale us with the story he regaled us with in the pre-show. But ultimately speaking, when you appreciate that you need the horizon to be an obstruction of things in the distance, i.e. a physical hill getting in the way, Earth curve getting in the way, with its physicality, as soon as you realise that you haven't got that anymore, then you haven't got the assertion that proves you're on a sphere. Now, you make that assertion with an assumption of R in the first instance, and modus tollens takes that into account. If the Earth's a sphere, radius 3959, then every distance to horizon, that's the geometric horizon, Earth curve, can be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, precisely as illustrated in your Earth curve maths. That's your claim, Globers. Now, the Black Swan demonstrates beyond all certitude that the distance to horizon is beyond the geometric limitations of Earth curve. Therefore, Earth curve is debunked. Don't have to like it. You can go mad, as 10th Man describes it, or you can do what John did and go, oh, right, we don't have Earth curve then. No, you do not. Earth's flat.
This is why they're going mad. It had to be seen to get the 3959. And they say we've never seen it due to refraction.
Exactly. Tip of the day from the chat says, bye-bye, Earth curve. Indeed. Or go nuts in the process and tell us how Earth curve, that used to claim to be blocked boats and buildings, is now a projection of an antecedent that only exists inside profile in maths. But it's very close, because seeing the side of your own head in maths and seeing your target not change in feet and inches, because that's an absolute value that won't change in their maths, and seeing an Earth curve obstruction with a straight line drawn to it claimed to be a tangent to an R value, all of those things apparently are very close to you just looking at a horizon. Seeing the side of your own head is very close to seeing a horizon. Very close indeed, according to them. The fact that it doesn't exist at all doesn't matter. It's still very close. The thing that doesn't exist. Don't have an Earth curve. Go on, Jin.
If I may, sorry, if I may just interrupt there.
Feel free.
There's a new force of nature just been discovered. I posted the link in your server right now. Okay?
Is it an emergent force?
Muron's strong evidence found for a new force of nature.
Was this the muon?
Live stream.
That was on the BBC, right?
Yeah.
BBC, yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, my wife read that to me yesterday. Couldn't stop laughing.
Muons?
Intermolecular glue,
What's
it.
going on now?
Intermolecular glue?
Is that Moulin Rouge?
Yeah.
No, muon. M-U-O-N, presumably.
No, if it was Moulin Rouge, they'd have to face it.
Not
just
Moulin,
posted it in
muon.
Masterby.
They're basically saying that then there's a new gravity and it's electromagnetic, and that's what makes things basically fall. In a nutshell.
Wow, what a weird coincidence.
How does that work for a
I
helium
knew
balloon?
it.
Hold on.
I knew it.
Hold on. That's
No, it's very strange.
Let me get it straight.
Bob's been
Hold on.
stuff like that.
Hold on, Mark. Let me get this straight. So, an idea that has been punted by Globebusters for the second time, has now made it to mainstream news in the face of the reality we actually encounter. Is that really what's just happened?
Good old
Correct. Basically, yes.
How interesting. Thanks,
On
Adam.
screen now.
Yeah, I got it. Thank you.
The last sentence is interesting. But the results from the Muon 2 experiment don't add up to a conclusive discovery yet. Well, why announce it?
They should have started with that.
Yeah.
That should have been the first sentence instead of the last. But oopsie.
Maybe
Sounds like,
maybe they should do tea time and use a kettle before they post anything.
Hold up. Physicists say they have found possible signs of a fifth fundamental force.
Possible signs, okay.
Which they say is magnetic in nature.
But magnetism, then?
Yeah, basically what Bob's doing.
Well, they're
They already
putting
got
their
the EM
finger in
force.
the water. They're testing
they
to see
need-
if it's hot.
They already got the EM
Oh boy,
force.
Don Gio's going to have
posted
an
it?
orgasm.
Yeah. I posted it, GCBR1.
Sorry, Q, you were
It
saying
says
something, right?
the experiment based at the Fermi National Accelerator Laboratory in Latvia, Illinois, searches for signs of new phenomena in physics by studying behavior of subatomic particles. Experiment? Searching for new phenomena?
Yeah.
Wouldn't you already have phenomena?
Searching phenomena. That's looking for stuff, but they're calling it an experiment. Make it sound a bit more science, right?
Yeah.
I've got to the reason.
There's a phenomenon interfering with their maths. That's what they're saying.
Who is UK lead, told the BBC News, "We have found the interaction of muons are not in agreement with the standard model. So they've got to, the model doesn't work, so they've got to invent another attractive force. So the current widely accepted theory to explain how the building blocks of the universe behave. So it doesn't work, so we've got to stick something else in to try and make it work. So we'll discover muons."
I see. With that, I'm going to say.
Well, it is a
go
muon argument.
Go on, you can have the last word, Tenth.
I say it is a muon argument.
You've got to see the subtle nuances in the argument they're making.
Nuances.
On that note, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G Plus panels for making today's live show possible. If I could figure out where the hell we are and what we're doing. If you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. Also, below this video, there is a link to get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on either premiering stream. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!